After 15 years of marriage, my wife told me she needed one night with another man to feel attractive again. When I found my service weapon and confronted her lover in our driveway, I knew our marriage was over. What I didn't know was that the evidence of her betrayal would lead me to the greatest case I'd ever solve: rebuilding a life worth living, with someone who truly deserved my loyalty. My name is Rodney Blair. I'm 46, and I've spent my career finding the truth among the lies. When I'm not processing crime scenes for the Chicago PD, I restore classic cars in my garage, a '67 Mustang currently, and teach my daughter Olivia everything I know about both. That Friday evening in October, I came home early, planning to surprise Natalie with tickets to the symphony. Instead, I got the surprise. My wife of 15 years was wearing a dress I'd never seen, applying makeup like armor. "Going somewhere?" I asked, leaning against the doorframe, ticket still in my pocket. "Mark's picking me up at 8, she replied without turning. Mark, the gallery owner from downtown who'd been collaborating with my wife on exhibitions. 10 years younger, with an Ivy League degree and family money. For what? I kept my voice level, though adrenaline was already flooding my system. "I need this, Rod." She finally faced me. "After 15 years of marriage, I need to feel attractive again. Desired. Mark's been interested for months, and I've decided to take him up on his offer." "You're telling me you need to sleep with another man to feel good about yourself?" The symphony tickets crumpled in my fist. "Just one night," she said dismissively. "It doesn't mean anything." I stepped forward, towering over her. "If you walk out that door to be with him, don't bother coming back." She laughed. "Don't be dramatic. I'll be back tomorrow, and we'll move past this." "No, we won't." I pulled out my phone and called my lawyer right there. "Jim, I need divorce papers drawn up." "Yes, now." Her smug expression faltered. "What are you doing?" "Making choices just like you." I turned and walked downstairs. I heard a car horn outside. Through the window, I saw a silver Audi idling in our driveway. Without another word, I went to my gun safe, removed my service weapon, and walked outside. Mark rolled down his window, smile fading when he recognized me. "Mr. Reynolds." I stood tall, weapon visible but pointed down. "This is private property. I suggest you leave." He swallowed hard, looking between me and our front door. I was invited. Plans have changed. I locked eyes with him. "Drive away." The Audi peeled out of our driveway, so fast it left rubber marks. When I walked back inside, Natalie was standing at the top of the stairs, furious. "You had no right." "Neither did you." I headed for the garage. "You've got until Monday to decide what matters more, your marriage or your ego." "I'll be at my cabin." I grabbed my go-bag from the hall closet and left without looking back. My cabin on Lake Michigan isn't much, just a one-bedroom retreat my father left me, but it's always been my sanctuary. I spent the weekend splitting logs, fishing off the dock, and ignoring Natalie's calls. By Sunday night, I had 18 missed calls and 32 text messages. I read none of them. Monday morning, I drove back to the city and went straight to work. Chief Walters noticed something was off when I requested a week of accumulated vacation time, effective immediately. "Everything okay, Blair?" he asked, glasses pushed up on his forehead. "Just some personal matters that need handling." I kept my voice neutral, professional. "Anything I can do?" "Not unless you've got experience serving divorce papers." The words came out before I could stop them. His eyebrows shot up, but he just nodded. "Take whatever time you need. The Anderson case can wait." Back home, I found Natalie waiting in the kitchen, still in her robe, at 11 a.m. Her eyes were red-rimmed, mascara smudged beneath them. "Where have you been?" she demanded. "I've been worried sick." "Worried?" I laughed, the sound harsh even in my own ears. "That's new. You can't just disappear for 3 days. You can't just decide to sleep with another man after 15 years of marriage. Yet here we are." I dropped my bag on the counter. "Did you go through with it?" "No." She stepped forward. "After you scare Mark off, I realized what I was risking. I stayed home all weekend, trying to reach you." I want to believe her. Part of me even did. But the forensic investigator in me knew evidence trumped testimony every time. "Show me your phone," I said quietly. Her expression flickered. "What? Your phone? Let me see it." "You don't trust me?" "Should I?" My voice remained level. "Show me the phone, Natalie." The hesitation told me everything I needed to know. "I thought so." I turned and walked upstairs to our bedroom, threw open the closet, and began pulling out suitcases. "What are you doing?" She followed me, panic rising in her voice. "Making a change." I began methodically packing my clothes. "I've already spoken with Jim. He'll have the papers drawn up by Friday." "Rod, please, I didn't go through with it." I stopped and faced her directly. "Then why won't you show me your phone?" She looked away. "It's complicated." "No, it's actually very simple." I zipped the first suitcase. "You betray my trust. Whether you slept with him or not, you were willing to." "That's enough." I carried the suitcase downstairs past Olivia, who had just come home from school. "Dad, what's going on?" she asked, eyes wide with confusion. "Your mother and I need some space," I said, loading the car. "Space?" Olivia looked between us. "What does that mean?" "It means your father's overreacting," Natalie cut in, voice tight with anger. I faced my daughter squarely. "It means sometimes adults make choices that have consequences." "I'll explain everything later, sweetheart." I drove to a hotel, requested a room for a week, and called my lawyer again. The marriage was over. I just needed to make it official. The courtroom felt familiar. I'd testified in hundreds of trials over the years, but sitting at the plaintiff's table was new territory. Jim Henderson, my attorney and longtime fishing buddy, laid out our position clearly: equitable division of assets, joint custody of the kids, and no spousal support given Natalie's substantial income from the gallery. "Mr. Blair has evidence of Mrs. Blair's infidelity," Jim stated, the word hanging in the air like gunpowder. That got Natalie's attention. She whispered frantically to her attorney, who called for a brief recess. In the hallway, her lawyer approached. "Mrs. Blair is willing to accept a more generous settlement if certain allegations remain private." Jim looked at me. I shook my head. "My client isn't interested in hush money," Jim replied. "He wants what's fair. Nothing more, nothing less." When we returned to the courtroom, I presented my evidence. While Natalie had refused to show me her phone that day, I'd done what any forensic investigator would: retrieve her deleted texts from our home computer's backup. The messages between her and Mark detailed their planned rendezvous and subsequent rescheduling after I confronted him. Natalie's face drained of color as the judge reviewed the evidence. The divorce was granted on grounds of adultery. We'd sell the house and split the proceeds, share custody of the kids, and each keep our respective retirement accounts. Clean break. Outside the courthouse, Natalie grabbed my arm. "You humiliated me in there. You humiliated yourself when you decided our vows meant nothing." I gently removed her hand. "I'll pick up the kids on Friday." That evening, I signed a lease on a 3-bedroom apartment near the kids' school. The realtor handed me the keys with a sympathetic smile. "New beginnings are tough," she said, "but necessary." I pocketed the keys and headed to my hotel to pack. Moving day coincided with Thanksgiving. Not ideal timing, but fitting somehow. While most families gathered around turkeys, I hauled furniture up 3 flights of stairs. I was placing framed photos of the kids on the mantel when someone knocked. Olivia stood in the hallway, Ryan behind her, both holding overnight bags. "Mom said tomorrow's your day with us, but we thought maybe—" Olivia trailed off. I pulled them both into a bear hug, something I hadn't done enough lately. "How about frozen pizza and soda?" I offered. "Perfect." Ryan grinned, the first genuine smile I'd seen from him in weeks. That night, watching my kids laugh at some silly movie, I felt a weight lift. We weren't broken, just reconfigured. And I'd make damn sure they knew that. Winter faded into spring, and with it, the raw edges of divorce began to smooth. I'd settled into a routine: work during the week, kids on weekends, restoration projects on the Mustang during lonely evenings. The engine was finally purring like it should, a small victory in a year of losses. On a Saturday in April, I took the kids to a classic car show in Grant Park. Olivia spotted the row of vintage Corvettes first, grabbing my hand like she used to when she was small. "Dad, they've got a '63 split window." Her excitement pulled me through the crowd. We were admiring the flawless restoration when a voice beside me said, "Beautiful machine, isn't it?" I turned to find a woman about my age running her hand appreciatively along the car's fender. "Original 327 engine?" she asked, peering through the window at the pristine interior. "Looks like it." I nodded, surprised. "You know your classics." "My father restored Corvettes. I grew up handing him wrenches." She extended her hand. Rachel Cooper. Rodney Blair. Her handshake was firm. These are my kids, Olivia and Ryan. Ryan was already wandering toward the next display, but Olivia sized Rachel up with obvious interest. Is that your GTO over there? Olivia pointed to a gleaming 1969 model parked with the exhibitor's cars. Rachel laughed. Good eye. Yes, that's my baby. Took me 5 years to restore her. We're working on a '67 Mustang. Olivia volunteered. Dad lets me help with the carburetors. Smart girl. Rachel winked at her, then turned back to me. You competing today? Just spectating. The Mustang's not quite show-ready. Well, if you ever need a second opinion on the carburetor rebuild, I know a great place for parts. She pulled out a business card. I'm a restoration consultant. I took the card, noticing she wore no ring. Thanks. We might take you up on that. As we walked away, Olivia nudged me. She was totally flirting with you, Dad. She was being friendly. I corrected, though the thought had crossed my mind. You should call her, my daughter insisted. She's cool, and she likes cars. Later that night, after the kids were asleep, I found myself staring at Rachel's card. Dating seemed like foreign territory after 16 years with Natalie. But maybe, like the Mustang, some things deserved a careful restoration. I picked up my phone and started typing. Rachel turned out to be more than just a restoration consultant. Our first meeting to discuss carburetor parts ended with coffee, then dinner the following week. She was divorced too. Her ex had cheated with her sister, a betrayal that made my situation seem almost pedestrian. At least Natalie had the decency to pick a stranger. I joked over steaks at Gibson's. There's no decent way to betray someone, Rachel replied, swirling her bourbon. But there are decent ways to rebuild afterward. You're doing it right, Rodney, putting your kids first. 3 months into dating, I invited Rachel to meet Olivia and Ryan formally. I'd mentioned her casually, but this Sunday barbecue would make things official. What if they hate me? Rachel asked, as we prepared the grill. Not possible. I squeezed her shoulder. Besides, Olivia's already your fan after the car show. The doorbell rang, and my stomach tightened. Natalie stood with the kids, her eyes immediately zeroing in on Rachel. You must be the mechanic, she said, voice dripping with disdain. Restoration specialist, Rachel corrected pleasantly. Nice to meet you. Natalie's eyes narrowed. Rod, a word. I followed her to the hallway, where she hissed. 3 months? You're introducing the kids to a woman you've known 3 months. We've been divorced almost a year. I kept my voice even. And you didn't exactly wait for the ink to dry before moving Mark into the house. She flinched. Point scored. Just be careful with their feelings, she said before turning to leave. The afternoon unfolded better than I'd hoped. Rachel taught Olivia how to make her grandmother's secret barbecue sauce, while Ryan discovered they shared a passion for sci-fi movies. After dinner, we all worked on the Mustang, Rachel showing Ryan how to detail the chrome. When the kids left, Rachel helped me clean up. Comfortable silence between us. They're great kids, she said finally. They liked you. I pulled her close, especially when you called out Natalie's bluff about knowing Mustang engines. She laughed. I couldn't help myself. Her actually, I know quite a bit about cars deserved a technical follow-up question. Something shifted that evening. The apartment felt more like home with Rachel in it. The restoration wasn't just happening in my garage anymore. Life settled into a new routine. Weekdays at the crime lab. Weekend split between the kids and Rachel. The Mustang finally reached show quality, winning 3rd place at the Midwest Classic. Even Mark's reappearance in Natalie's life bothered me less. They seemed suited for each other's superficial values. Then came the call that shattered our equilibrium. Dad, Olivia's voice trembled. Can you come get us? Now. I was at Natalie's house in 15 minutes flat. Olivia and Ryan sat on the porch with duffel bags. No sign of their mother. What happened? I asked, loading their bags into my car. Mom and Mark had a huge fight, Ryan explained. He's been cheating on her with some gallery assistant. The irony wasn't lost on me, but I kept my expression neutral. Where's your mother now? Locked in her bedroom, Olivia said. She told us to call you. Said we should stay with you for a while. At home, I got the kids settled, then called Rachel to explain the situation. Need me to bring over anything? She offered. Extra groceries? Moral support. Just you, I admitted. But not tonight. The kids need space. Later, I found Olivia on the balcony, staring at the Chicago skyline. Does it get easier? She asked, voice small. What's that, sweetheart? Feeling betrayed by someone you trust. I sat beside her, choosing my words carefully. It doesn't get easier, but you get stronger. And eventually, you learn to trust again, just more wisely. She leaned against my shoulder. Like with Rachel? Like with Rachel, I confirmed. She's really good for you, Dad. You smile more. The next morning, Natalie called. I need more time, she said, voice raspy. Can they stay with you indefinitely? They can stay as long as they need to, I agreed. But Nat, you might want to get some help. For the kids' sake. A pause, then a whispered, I know. That night, I created new house rules with the kids, establishing bedtimes, chore rotations, and expectations. It wasn't temporary anymore. We were becoming a full-time family unit. We should celebrate, Ryan suggested, like officially moving in. What did you have in mind? I asked. Rachel mentioned a drive-in theater reopening in Lake County. Olivia piped up. We could take the Mustang. It felt right, including Rachel in our plans without prompting. The restoration was complete, not just of the car, but of something more fundamental. 18 months after my divorce, I stood on the balcony of my apartment watching snowfall blanket Chicago. Inside, Rachel was helping the kids decorate our Christmas tree, her collection of vintage car ornaments mingling with our family heirlooms. Dad, Rachel found your old police academy ornament. Olivia held up the tarnished badge my fellow cadets had given me decades ago. I thought that was lost in the move, I said, stepping back inside. It was in the box marked memories, Rachel explained. Someone packed it upside down. The kids had been living with me full-time for 4 months now. Natalie had spiraled after Mark's betrayal, eventually checking herself into a wellness center in Arizona. Our last conversation had been surprisingly civil. You're better at this than I am, she'd admitted. They need stability right now. Rachel had seamlessly integrated into our lives, never overstepping, but always present. She taught Olivia to change oil, helped Ryan with science projects, and knew exactly when I needed quiet support after difficult cases. We need more lights for the back of the tree, Ryan announced. I'll grab some from the storage locker, I offered. In the building's basement, I unlocked the wire cage that held our excess belongings. Behind the Christmas bins sat a small fireproof safe, the one place I knew the kids never looked. I retrieved the small velvet box I'd hidden there last week. Inside, a vintage platinum ring with a tasteful diamond, surrounded by tiny rubies, Rachel's birthstone. I'd found it at an estate sale, the Art Deco design perfect for her classic tastes. Back upstairs, I found Rachel alone in the kitchen, mixing hot chocolate. Kids want to get cookies from Mrs. Abernathy next door, she explained. Apparently, it's a Christmas Eve tradition. Our elderly neighbor makes the best snickerdoodles in Illinois, I confirmed, slipping the box into my pocket. She's been supplying the building since before I moved in. Rachel stirred the chocolate, humming along with the Christmas music from the living room. In that ordinary moment, all doubts vanished. This was exactly what I wanted, every day for the rest of my life. Move in with us, I said suddenly. She looked up, wooden spoon frozen mid-stir. What? That came out wrong. I took the spoon from her hand. What I meant was, I pulled out the box and dropped to one knee. Rachel Cooper, will you marry me? Will you move in and make this apartment into a real home? Will you keep rebuilding this family with me? Her hands flew to her mouth, eyes widening as I opened the box. Rod, are you sure? The kids already approve. I asked them last week. You did. Tears welled in her eyes. Olivia suggested I propose on Christmas morning, but I couldn't wait. I took her hand. I love you, Rachel. We all do. Yes, she whispered, then louder. Yes. The door burst open as I slid the ring on her finger, the kids rushing in with cookies and perfect timing. Did he ask? Did you say yes? Olivia demanded. Rachel held up her hand, the vintage ring catching the Christmas lights. Best Christmas ever. Ryan pumped his fist triumphantly. That night, after the kids were asleep, Rachel and I sat by the tree, making plans for our future. The city lights twinkled below, matching the sparkle in her eyes. You know what this means, she said, examining her ring. We need a bigger garage. Spring arrived with cherry blossoms and complications. Natalie returned from Arizona, renting an apartment downtown and demanding to revisit our custody arrangement. I'm better now, she insisted during mediation. I've done the work. I deserve more time with my children. My attorney started to speak, but I held up my hand. What do the kids want? They're minors. They don't decide, Natalie began. They're people with feelings and opinions. I cut in. Have you asked them what they want? The mediator suggested a family session with the children present. When the day arrived, I drove Olivia and Ryan to the office, reminding them they could speak freely without fear of hurting either parent. Just tell the truth, I said as we walked in. That's all I've ever asked of you. Natalie was already seated, perfectly groomed in an expensive suit. She embraced the kids enthusiastically, firing questions about school and activities. I noticed she didn't ask about Rachel or our engagement, though the ring on my finger was obvious. The mediator skillfully guided the conversation, eventually asking the children about their living preferences. I want to stay with Dad, Olivia stated immediately. I'm starting driver's ed, and he's teaching me auto mechanics at the community college workshop. That sounds lovely for weekends, Natalie smiled tightly. But you need a stable home environment. We have that, Ryan interrupted. Dad's getting married. We have family dinner every night. Rachel's helping me with my science fair project. And what about me? Natalie's voice cracked. I'm your mother. A painful silence filled the room. Maybe we could do Sundays, Ryan offered finally. And some holidays. Natalie's face crumpled, the reality of her choices finally hitting home. The mediator called a break, and I followed Natalie into the hallway. This isn't fair, she hissed. You've turned them against me. I never said a negative word about you. I replied evenly. Not once. You did this yourself when you decided our family wasn't worth protecting. One mistake. I made one mistake. No, you made a choice. I kept my voice low but firm. And then another choice when you moved Mark in before the divorce was final. And another when you neglected the kids during your breakdown. She stared at me, tears streaming down her face. I'm not trying to punish you, Nat, but I want to uproot the kids when they're finally stable. Eventually, we reached a compromise. Olivia and Ryan would continue living with me, but Natalie would have them every other weekend and Wednesday dinners. Major holidays would be shared. Driving home, I glanced at my children in the rearview mirror. You guys okay? Mom seemed sad, Ryan said quietly. She is sad, I acknowledged. She regrets her choices. Are you still mad at her? Olivia asked. I considered this carefully. No, not anymore. Anger takes too much energy. Rachel says holding grudges is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Ryan piped up. I smiled. Smart woman. That's why I'm marrying her. When we arrived home, Rachel was waiting with a family meeting sign taped to the door and pizza inside. Before we could tell her about the mediation, she clapped her hands excitedly. I know today was stressful, so I thought we could use some good news. How do you guys feel about a June wedding? The Classic Car Club offered us their lakeside pavilion. The tension dissolved as the kids bombarded her with questions about the ceremony. Watching them, I realized we'd weather the storm. Whatever challenges came next, we'd face them together. The lakeside pavilion gleamed with string lights and vintage car memorabilia as guests filtered in. Classic convertibles lined the entrance pathway, polished to mirror finishes. I stood beneath an archway of antique steering wheels and gear shifts. Rachel's creative touch transforming car parts into elegant decor. Nervous? Asked Jim, my best man and longtime friend. Not even slightly. I answered truthfully, adjusting my cufflinks. Miniature silver Mustangs Rachel had given me that morning. The Classic Car Club had outdone themselves. Their lakefront property, usually hosting car shows and swap meets, had been transformed into a wedding venue that perfectly captured our shared passion. The music changed, and heads turned as Olivia appeared in a blue bridesmaid dress, beaming as she walked down the aisle scattering flower petals. At 16, she'd grown into a poised young woman, already talking about forensic science programs for college. Ryan followed as ring bearer, shoulders straight in his first suit, handling his responsibilities with the seriousness of his 14 years. Then Rachel appeared on her father's arm, stunning in a vintage-inspired gown. Our eyes locked, and everything else faded. 3 years after Natalie's betrayal, I found something I never expected, a stronger, more authentic love. The ceremony passed in a blur until I heard, "You may kiss the bride." As our lips met, engine revs thundered across the lake, the car club's unique wedding salute. During the reception, I caught sight of Natalie arriving discreetly at the back. We'd invited her as a courtesy, never expecting she'd come. She'd maintained sobriety for 8 months now, attending weekly therapy, gradually rebuilding relationships with the kids. Rachel squeezed my hand. I invited her for the kids' sake. Is that okay? It's perfect, I assured her, once again grateful for her compassion. Later, as Rachel danced with her father, Natalie approached our table. Beautiful ceremony, she said awkwardly. The venue is very... Thanks for coming, I replied sincerely. It means a lot to the kids. She nodded, something like regret crossing her features. Rachel seems wonderful. The kind of woman who'd never need validation from someone else to feel worthy. She knows her value, I agreed. It took me a while to recognize mine too. Natalie smiled sadly. Better late than never, right? For both of us. As she walked away, I felt the last traces of bitterness dissolve. My new life was too full, too rich with genuine connection to waste energy on old wounds. The DJ called for the father-daughter dance. Olivia approached, extending her hand formally. Ready, Dad? I led my daughter onto the dance floor, heart full to bursting as we swayed to Louis Armstrong's What a Wonderful World. I'm proud of you, she whispered. For what, sweetheart? For not giving up. For showing us how to heal and move forward with dignity. I held her closer, overcome. Best decision I ever made. From the edge of the dance floor, Rachel watched us, her smile reflecting the future stretching bright before us. 5 years later, and the 1967 Mustang Fastback Restoration category winner is Rodney and Olivia Blair. Applause erupted across the convention center as Olivia and I approached the podium. At 21, my daughter stood tall beside me in matching coveralls, both of us grinning like fools. This is the third consecutive win for the father-daughter team, the announcer continued, whose dedication to period-accurate restoration has set new standards in the classic car community. I handed Olivia the trophy, our agreement for her final restoration before graduate school. She beamed, leaning into the microphone. This car has been our project since I was 16, she began. Through college applications, breakups, and everything in between, the garage was our sanctuary. Dad taught me that broken things can be restored with enough patience and the right tools. She glanced at me, eyes suspiciously bright. Some lessons transcend engines. Later, as we loaded our tools and the trophy into the trailer, Rachel appeared with Ryan and 5-year-old James, our son born 3 years after our wedding. The conquering heroes return, Rachel announced, lifting James so he could inspect the trophy. Did you fix all the cars, Daddy? James asked, eyes wide. Just one very special one, I corrected, ruffling his hair. Mom wants us home by 6, Ryan reminded us, checking his watch. Michael and his parents are coming for dinner. At 19, Ryan had grown into a thoughtful young man, recently bringing home Michael, his boyfriend of 6 months, for family approval. Rachel and I had welcomed him warmly. What mattered was Ryan's happiness. The drive home was comfortable family chaos. Olivia discussing her forensic pathology program, Ryan debating classic versus modern engine designs, James singing car-themed songs he'd invented. Pulling into our driveway, a larger home we'd purchased 3 years ago with a 3-car garage, I caught sight of Natalie dropping off a casserole. Sunday dinner had become a monthly tradition, the past gradually replaced by a workable present. Her sobriety had held, and she'd found purpose teaching art therapy at a women's recovery center. One big, weird, modern family, Rachel murmured, following my gaze. Perfect in its imperfection, I agreed. That evening, surrounded by the family we'd built, biological, chosen, and extended, I watched Rachel across the table. Gray had begun threading through her auburn hair, laugh lines deepening around her eyes. She was more beautiful to me now than the day we met. Penny for your thoughts, she said, catching my stare. Just reflecting on evidence, I replied. Oh, what kind? The conclusive kind. I reached for her hand. That sometimes the worst betrayal can lead to your best life. She squeezed my fingers, understanding without further explanation. The broken pieces had not only been repaired but transformed into something stronger, more authentic, and infinitely more precious than what had been lost.